Rick's Café.
So Giuseppe, first of all, I'm really thrilled to have you here tonight. It's a pleasure to have a chance to actually talk to you after all this time.
It's beautiful for me to be able to have this conversation with you and here at Rick's Café in Casablanca. Just wonderful.
Well, excellent. And I remember thinking to myself the first time we spoke, it was several months ago, and I remember thinking to myself, how does a brilliant pianist from Rome, Italy, find his way to Casablanca, Morocco? So I'm very curious, what brings you here?
My quest for jazz, for music, I would say both a musical quest, but a spiritual quest. It has been 15 years I've been on the road, trying to reconnect more and more with my identity and my roots. And I came here to Morocco for the first time 10 years ago, and it was just a gift for me. It helped me to reconnect with my African roots that are really important to me. And jazz, of course, the music I love is about this wonderful connection between Africa and Europe that happened in the United States. At least that's my perception and my conviction. So.
I have to ask, so where did your musical journey take you before Morocco? You mentioned that you traveled for like 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first country I was living and studying music and performing music was the Netherlands. So it was Amsterdam specifically, where I got a scholarship at the Van Amsterdam Conservatorium. And then after that I was living in Barcelona for a year. After that, I was living in the south of France, not too far from Perpignan, where I did part of my jazz studies. After that, I moved to Sweden, Gothenburg, where I had a scholarship at the Academy of Music and Drama. I was so in love at the time with the Northern European jazz, and right after that, I got this invitation to come here to play. Actually, not the first club I played here in Casablanca was the Petit Rocher. It was 10 years ago, and I was so fascinated by Morocco. I stayed 2 years and a half, just instead of just being around for a couple of weeks, which was the original plan.
I'm a little bit jealous as a aspiring musician myself. It seems to me that it's a true gift to be able to glean little bits of musical knowledge in so many different countries. You were in France, you were in Sweden. What was it like to learn music in these different contexts?
I would say I would like to quote Vinicius de Moraes. I grew up with the music with bossa nova, because my uncle is a pianist, guitar player, and songwriter, and he always would quote Vinicius de Moraes. He would say, "Life is the art of encounters," and I would say that's how I perceive music and jazz, like a tribal gathering, so to say, a tribal experience. That's also how I got started with music, because I was born in a family of musicians on my mother's side. And so since I was 3 years old, we would be jamming for Christmas or Easter and just gathering, and everybody would do something, either singing or play percussions or piano. Basically, so encounters to me are so important because of that, because music and specifically jazz is about sharing, and it's a communion of spiritual communion. And I mean, I'm Italian, like you can say, you can tell by the way I use my hands. But really, we like to have food together, and to it's kind of convivial, like.
So you lived in all these, to me, fascinating places, having a chance to explore music in all these different contexts. What about Morocco is so special to you, and having that spiritual connection with music that helps you get back to your roots, that brings all these influences together for you?
I would say right now, after 10 years, I just actually came back here about 6 months ago. I would say it is very important to come back to Morocco after having been exposed, played in New York, and I had lived in New York. So that was kind of, I would say, I always felt this attraction from, was born in Europe, was born in Rome, but I always felt this attraction, of course, towards the US, and at the same time towards Africa. So I would say that after experiencing New York, which is kind of, I feel, my hometown because of the jazz, it's like the place where I feel at home, like musically. It gives me, again, I have to say, I love this connection between Africa, Morocco, Europe, and the United States, because that's basically those are the three continents that are so deeply related to jazz and to this art form, that is about like it's I would say an art form that allows us to just communion no matter where we're from, no matter and just be able to share. I would say Morocco and Casablanca and the Rix Café, it's wonderful carrefour where at least I always felt welcome personally. I think this is that's one of the components that I love so much about Morocco. It's like I never felt discriminated, I never felt rejected. I always felt welcome, and I consider that as a I like to define myself Afro-Mediterranean, because I don't, even if my passport is European, I consider that Europe has so much to learn from Morocco, and also from New York, I would say, because New York is a wonderful place, is a wonderful, such an international community. So I see, it's hard to express in words, but I feel this strong connection between this, I would say, three cities that I love so much: Rome, Casablanca, and New York.
Well, I'm reminded of a quote from the previous king of Morocco, and I'm paraphrasing because I think he said it in French originally, but he said something to the effect of Morocco is a country with its roots in Africa and its branches in Europe. So it's a tree with its roots in Africa and its branches in Europe. So it seems to me this idea that you're talking about of bridging this divide between different continents through a kind of musical communion, you might say, yeah?
Absolutely. And one of the things also I love so much about Rix is that because I'm so much in love with the US, I always get a chance to meet wonderful people from the US, from all over the US. And that's, again, I feel, especially after living in the US, it's part of my identity. I'm a different person. So it's like I'm so happy to be able to see these three, and also people from Europe, these three continents again meeting and kind of fusioning here at Rix Café, and through the music, of course, because that's
right.
What I like to do.
Well, and that what to me is what's always so interesting about the musical acts here at Rix Café is almost every single night there's at least more than 3 nationalities represented. Tonight we have the singer from Russia. You mentioned you're Italian, Maurice is French, and Najib is fellow American like myself. So it's exactly what you're talking about. I almost imagine like a musical tagine, we might say, right?
Absolutely.
I have one more question for you. You keep getting back to Rix and how you're so grateful to play here. What is it about Rix that for you encapsulates what you just described, this musical crossroads, this musical communion of North America, Europe, and Africa, and your own background?
I think the word I would use is global citizenship. At Rick's Café, I feel that, like, to me, this new reality that is so needed today, because individual countries are not able to answer and to solve like the global challenges unless there's a new mentality that would be born, which is what I define the global citizenship, which means that we understand that we live on the same planet, and that by sharing our background and having, and of course also having a good time and meeting wonderful people, we can inspire each other to find solutions to solve the global challenges that we have to face. Otherwise, I mean, we know, I mean, I'm so aware about global warming and all these things that because I love nature, of course. So I would say this is like a gathering place, crucial gathering place where, like I said, a new ethnicity to me gets born every night by this encounter of different cultures. So the global citizenship, that's what I would associate to through music and through jazz with the Rick's Café.
Right. Makes total sense, and I guess because this is Rick's Café, we should end on a quote from Rick Blaine from the movie Casablanca. I suppose what you're saying is you're happy to be a citizen of the world.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm happy to have a chance to be a citizen of the world with you and have this interview, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your set. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
Rick's Café, Casablanca.
For once in a lifetime.